soon as I came near a horse, it became very apparent that I'd never ridden on top of a horse. There's a lot of movie magic that we employed.
Which brings us back to the morning of the wedding.
Mila, it's me!
Dr. Watson! Why? Why are you pursuing me?
It's your brother. Sherlock has been kidnapped.
So, Himesh, I want to start off by asking you, what do you geek out about?
I geek out about photography lately, specifically film photography.
How did you get into photography?
My dad was a keen photographer back in the day. Not so much over my lifetime necessarily because he was working so much. He kept his cameras around. I took an interest in it. And then I was very lucky to be of the sort of early adopters of the YouTube generation and learned a lot about photography that way.
Was it always film photography or did you start off with digital?
Started off with digital, yeah. Just because it was what was more accessible to me at the time. Eventually, I wanted to move over to film just to try it out. And I found a couple of my dad's old cameras. He had an old Canon A1 that I'm really thankful that he kept that thing around because, it's now quite valuable. He had an old Yashica, I believe it was, sort of medium format thing. One of those cameras, old cameras where you flip it and you look that way to take the picture. And I tried using that a few times. It didn't go particularly well, and it went kind of wrong maybe a couple of times as well, maybe because I just didn't understand film and how you really should not expose it to light before you develop it, because that will ruin it entirely. But also there's a mechanism wrong with this medium format camera, which it'll cost more to fix it than it will to just buy a new one.
I see.
But eventually I got to grips with the Canon A1 and I was really enjoying that. And then I got myself another medium format camera.
And you brought one of the cameras,
that's what I brought with me today, yeah. It's a Fuji GA645. I think they were released in 1995. It's also medium format. So that means that the negative's bigger than regular sort of 35mm that we generally use to shooting. So you just get an extra depth of field and clarity. But this one's really fun because it's a point and shoot, so that means like it's got autofocus. There's like a built-in flash as well that might pop out if I press that button. It's a lot of fun, and it's like a sort of disposable camera to some degree in that you can just point and shoot and get some beautiful images. And I've been really enjoying using it.
What kind of photos do you like taking with this camera in particular? Like, is it candid, landscapes?
Yeah, it's a bit of everything. It's really versatile because of the fact that it's medium format. It's got a really wide angle. It's got a fixed lens, but it's got, a pretty wide viewing angle. So I can take sort of some really nice landscape shots, but also some really beautiful portraits.
Did film appeal to you because, I know that like the developing of your own photos is something that's like very tactile and that's like you see what you created like form in front of your own eyes.
Yeah.
Is that something, do you develop your own film?
I haven't done it yet, maybe because I'm a bit nervous because obviously it's a huge risk at those early days if you haven't developed before because it's also specific and precise. The chemicals have to be mixed properly, the right temperature. You have to know how long to leave it in a bath and that sort of thing. But I really would love to. I've got friends who do it and there's now more and more equipment that can help you with making sure that it's done precisely and that you're not going to screw up your film and waste a lot of money as well. I mean, look, film photography costs a lot of money and so that isn't lost on me either. But, yeah.
It's an investment because, with film photography, it's quite expensive to get all that equipment.
It is, and it's getting more expensive because of was it one of the Jenners, one of the Kardashians went on a chat show with a Contax T2 point and shoot film camera, and overnight they just sort of tripled in price.
That's what they do. They're influencers for a reason. The original influencers, you might say.
Yeah. So a lot of those very accessible sort of point and shoot film cameras are now, even if they're not that great, they're sort of out of range for most people.
Yeah.
So it's difficult, but it's fingers crossed it continues to flourish. Photography, digital or film.
I feel like people want those kind of physical things that they can create with their own hands. Especially everything's so screen heavy right nowadays. So
there's something about the analog of it all that I really like. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you take photos on set? Is that something that
I do? I try to. I'm not always allowed, on certain sets. It's very much like a please don't do that. Also, I'm a bit nervous of taking too many shots of my co-stars or anything like that because I don't know how they feel about it. And it's not like I'm some sort of master photographer that they'll be like, let me take a photo of you. It's going to be beautiful. But maybe I should ask them a bit more. Maybe it would be nice to get some memories, I was recently on a set where it was like great, we could all shoot all the time, and it was great. So, but I've got about 6 rolls of film that I haven't had developed yet. So I need to go and get those developed so I can get all the shots back.
Shooting on a film set, do you ever, go over to the DP and be like, oh, how,
Yeah,
do you have any tips or?
Yeah, which is great because, every single time that I've been that way, they've been so, they've reciprocated, because I think they like the fact that, there's someone on the other side of the lens who's taking an interest in what they're up to and how they're capturing the image. Cinematographers are like magicians to me. It's really amazing how they do what they do, and their crew, how the cinematographer works with the gaffer and with the ACs, and how they craft the image, working with cinematographers who will put light in places that you'd go, why is the light there? And then you see the final image and you realize what it's doing, even however subtly. I think that stuff's really incredible. But it's always great because more often than not, they're also into photography because they're just so sort of synonymous. So it's always been really great just asking them questions and getting to learn how they do what they do, and how, their own sort of photography informs their cinematography.
Have you learned anything from photography that has inspired you in your professional performance capacity? Like, you now understand how to hold yourself in front of the camera, how to perform specifically that it will look, that you've learned from, taking photos, basically.
I'm still in the process of learning this because there are slight differences between the moving image and the still image, but focal lengths, by which I mean sort of the lens, how much it can see and how far it's seeing, and the depth of field, all this sort of stuff. You realize that the best directors and the best cinematographers, they know exactly what lens to ask for to get what they're getting, to see what they want to see, and they understand how that's going to work and how the image is going to sort of come across in the final thing. So that, I think, has been really fascinating to learn through photography, what different focal lengths do to like someone's face. A wider angle will sort of squash their face in a certain way. A sort of longer lens will be more flattering. That sort of stuff is really interesting to me. And I can get a sense of that when I'm on set, when I hear that they're asking for this sort of focal length on the camera, that sort of thing. I understand what they're trying to achieve, what sort of shot we're looking to get, and how to adapt myself so that we're achieving that.
Do you have any specific thing that you remember learning while on a set like the Odyssey or Enola Holmes that you then took to use in your own photography?
Yeah, I mean, the thing on Enola Holmes was we were shooting digitally, but the way that they were crafting the light to make it look so sort of cinematic, and we were shooting some stuff on stage. Of course, when you're shooting on location, there's only so much you can manipulate the light, and really the thrill of it is using the natural light to your advantage. But shooting on a stage, you have complete control over the light. But with this situation in Enola Holmes, the whole story is set in Malta. And so we have to craft the whole thing to look like it's going to match with the stuff that's shot exterior in Malta itself. But Matt Lewis, our DP, is, he's amazing. He won all the awards for Adolescence. That was a whole other challenge, of course. But I got to see some of that technology that they use to get those sort of one-ers and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that was incredible.
But you realize how the relationship between the DP and the director is so key on every set. The Odyssey was a whole different kettle of fish. We were shooting on IMAX film. So IMAX film is like the big, it's not dissimilar to the size of a medium format, but it's even bigger, I think. And it's the largest film format available out there. This was the first movie to shoot every single second of the movie, nearly 3 hours in complete IMAX film. So there were specifics to that experience, because a different focal length on an IMAX camera means something different to a focal length on like a 35mm camera. It's just going to be wider. The depth of field is going to be even shallower. Like you have to really think about how you move in relation to the camera if the depth of field is going to be, all this sort of stuff. It's really, the precision of it's amazing. But a lot of what I did on that movie was on location. So really using natural light to our advantage. I mean, Hoai-Tran Bui, who shot that movie, is one of our greats. So it's always a pleasure to be around him.
Amazing. Well, there's, of course, a rich history of photographers turned filmmakers, Wim Wenders, Spike Jonze, of course, Stanley Kubrick. Would you ever consider directing?
Yeah, I think I would. It's not something that I take lightly, though. I don't want to assume that I can just do it. But I think that as I gain more knowledge, and I've had the advantage of working with some really masterful filmmakers, it really sort of, I just sort of try and soak it all in and lock it all away and continue to learn. I'm writing at the moment, So, I'm not going to direct the thing I'm writing right now, but eventually I'd love to do it. I'd love to try it. Yeah, for sure.
Now that we've suitably geeked out about photography, let's talk about a famously geeky character that you're playing, Dr. John Watson. How would you differentiate your Watson from other cinematic or TV Watsons that we've seen?
There's a real specificity to this version of Watson that excited me from the moment I took on the role, because I turned up in a cameo role at the end of Enola Holmes 2.
Sherlock Holmes,
Yes.
I'm here for my appointment. You're seeking a flatmate?
You must have the wrong address.
Really? The young lady was very clear as to the place and the time. Thursday at 4, she said. You are Sherlock Holmes.
Yes. Please, do come in, Mr.
Doctor Watson. John Watson.
And from that point, we were having conversations, myself and Jack Thorne at the time, who writes these movies, because I was curious to know if he had any ideas at the time for how the third movie might pan out. And he was very clear with me that the reason that they were casting someone of my background as Watson was not just a sort of tick box exercise. It was something that he was being very specific about, because it opens up opportunities for the kind of stories that they could tell going forward. Same reason that they were thinking of Sharon Duncan Brewster playing a character that would eventually become Moriarty. There are reasons for that which unfold in Enola Holmes 3 in a really wonderful way that I think people will be excited to see. So, and then when I eventually read the script, it's beautifully done. I really love that a movie like this is going there. This is a family fun movie. There's a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of the stuff that people know from the first two movies. But like those movies, it's also talking about social issues of the time, how they reflect to today. And in this one, we're really getting into some stuff that I don't know many movies would kind of want to go to. And I'm really glad we did.
Yeah, going off of that, I have seen the movie. And, the first two movies were inspired by real life historical events. And this one tackles basically Britain's legacy of colonialism, imperialism. And did you feel going into a film like this and, being of South Asian descent, that was something that you were excited to kind of unravel in a film like this?
Yeah, I was. I was really glad to know from the get-go that was a direction they wanted to go in. Because of course the original source material, I went to that obviously to research the role to some degree, is set all during that, were written during and was set during that time where colonialism is kind of the height of colonialism, really, maybe towards the sort of the end of it, or maybe towards the period of time where people were starting to question the reality of it. But it was certainly still very strong and very present in day-to-day life, even in the UK, if people were aware of it or not. So I was really glad that was something that wasn't going to be ignored, and that was going to be sort of folded into the narrative in a really clever way.
Your Watson doesn't actually get to interact much with Sherlock in this film.
No.
Did you and Henry Cavill work to establish, your dynamic, your backstory before going into filming?
We didn't really get much chance to spend time together. No, we saw each other at the table read, and then I was going back off to shoot the Odyssey, and he was going to be shooting, and then we were sort of ships in the night, really, to be honest with you. But there was things in the script that I thought were really helpful to me. There's a moment where, Watson recalls a story about Sherlock trying to make him a cup of tea, and sort of the beginnings of their working relationship. And that I thought was really wonderful, and it gave me a real sense of where they were at and what defines their relationship, and why he wants to find Sherlock, but why he knows how to think like Sherlock in order to help Enola. And yeah, that was really lovely. So I hope I get to work with Henry again in the future in these roles, because I think he's done some really beautiful work in this movie, which people will see. You get to see Sherlock in situations you wouldn't really see him in usually, and he has to make difficult decisions that he wouldn't usually have to make. And I think Henry's performance is really beautiful.
So you get to do some horse riding and physical stunts in this film. Did it prepare you for the Odyssey, or vice versa? Because you're kind of filming both at the same time.
Yeah, kind of vice versa, really. But I'm sad to say I didn't actually do the horse riding. There's a lot of movie magic that we employed. Became clear we kind of had to. As soon as I came near a horse, it became very apparent that I'd never ridden a horse or been on top of a horse. So but it was never, I think it was ever really an option. I think with a lot of horse riding stuff, it's very rare that the actors actually get to do it. Like you have some amazing stunt people who kind of literally take the reins for you. So, yeah.
Last question. Dr. Watson is one of those icons of literature and film at this point. He'll soon be showing up as another mythic character in the Odyssey, Eurylochus.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should pronounce that word.
But during the entire production, people were like, how do I say this name?
Well, how would you compare playing two such storied characters?
It's an honor, really, to be asked to play a character like Watson as a fan of that world, but also, as I said, I was excited about the specificities of this version, but just to be alongside all those amazing actors who've done it before, it really is an honor. And then to be doing the Odyssey, and it's the first time I think that anyone's tried to adapt this poem, epic poem. It's honestly a huge privilege to get to be part of it. So.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful speaking with you.
So
and hearing you geek out about photography.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I've learned so much.
Thanks.